we've been dipping into a whole range of different learning techniques over the last 2 sessions. We've been looking at a whole range of self-reflective techniques. I'm going to get ourselves organised with a 6-step program to preparing your lesson plans. So I'm going to get you to start working on your actual lesson plan today. Now I've got some information to refresh to you about some methods. The first one is the learning pyramid. The research shows that just reading to people, they're lucky to retain 10% of the information. Audio visual's good, and 20% retention. Demonstration, about 30% retention. Discussion, dynamic discussion in the classroom, creating opportunities for that active learning, 50% retention of the material that you're looking at. Practice doing, so they get to practice and refine those skills, 75% retention. Teaching others, 90% retention. So I want you to focus when you're doing your lesson plans to manage, to build in activities where they can teach each other eventually. Whether it's something that you can work up to, whether it's something that a learning opportunity you can create, because that's going to have the best retention of the material that you're trying to pass on. Alright, so we're going to go through a 6-step process to prepare this lesson plan. So, learning objectives start with a sentence. Today, we will learn about. So, I want you to have a look at the topic you brought in today to work with and phrase a sentence. Today, we will learn about, and finish that. So, today, we are going to learn to. And it's really important to put it in that frame of language, because it's all about what the students are there to learn, not what you're there to teach. The next question I've got to ask is, we've asked our students, we've said we're going to learn this today. What does success look like? So at the end of the day, or at the end of my lesson, I may have expected that they'll build this, which for applied learning, which we do very, very well here at TAFE, that's probably the easiest. It's the theory lessons that are the trickiest for this. So if I'm doing OH&S, by the end of the lesson, I expect my students to understand, and you've got to think about what success criteria could look like. So could I expect, for example, a student to be able to walk in and do a safety assessment of a room? No. What does success look like for your lessons? All right. Now, I'm humbly not telling you to suck eggs at the moment. I assume everyone knows about employability skills. Employers, when they're asked, want employability skills. They don't want skills. They often sit there and say, we can teach them skills, but we want people who can learn, listen, and work in my business with those employability skills. So, it's important for job stability, longevity, employability, in terms of career stability. Why are employability skills in the training packages?
Because it's what employers look for.
Yeah. It's what employers have asked for. So we are actually required to teach these. And one of the things we've got to remember is a lot of these can be taught. So, as I said, I'm not telling you to suck eggs with this. I know you will know these and you probably naturally integrate them into your classes. I'm simply just going to go pull out a few bits and pieces. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in it. We're going to quickly go through it. So, the first dispositions, loyalty, what do you think they come under? Persistence, resilience, commitment, enthusiasm, reliability, personal presentation, ability to deal with pressure, motivation, adaptability. We can teach these, we can rehearse these with our students. We can spend time updating these skills. Communication, active listening, Does anyone think their students actively listen well enough?
They try.
And there's a maturity aspect with some of the students with it. Certainly if you're working with adults at diploma level, advanced diploma, you've got a different dynamic again. So you're speaking clearly, particularly with students with low LLM skills, writing to the needs of the audience, negotiating responsibly, reading independently. Again, I say these are skills we can teach, we can have students doing more. Empathising, that is a really tricky one. Self-management, we all know they should be punctual, they should arrive with everything they need. Do we work on these in our classes, in our lessons? Do we create opportunities for ourselves to work on that? Teamwork. Teamwork is probably one of the best ones I've heard out of all the days where teams work on them. You know, you're very skilled at getting your students to notice that it's important. Lifelong learning. Our students are going to be applying for jobs that we don't know exist yet. So empowering them to be lifelong learners is going to be an essential skill. They're going to have to always update, always keep abreast of things, learn new things because jobs are changing. Problem solving. I believe that one of the challenges we personally face is balancing it in having a long-term focus that we will educate them and help them to learn themselves to independence by the end of the year when they leave us. Doesn't mean they need all the skills in day one, term 2. They will be building those skills along the way. And our level of support may perhaps lean off as we head towards the end of the year. Technology, a never-ending, updating weekly, monthly, yearly, daily, just a never-ending skill base there. Planning and organising. Karen raised a really interesting point about this the other day, which I personally took on board. There are some students who can't organise. They have specific learning difficulties and higher functioning problems are an issue that comes out in their planning and organising. So if we've got a student that's struggling in that area, we may need to sit and think, you know, is something more happening here? Can I facilitate, teach, offer support, direct them to areas where they can get better support with that? Initiative and enterprise. Becoming very, very strong catchwords now, particularly in job interviews. You'll find job interviews now are more focused on employability skills than they are any skill base. So they'll be given problems, for example, how would you set up a new department? What would be your plan? Students are thrown in at the deep end, or anyone in a job interview is thrown in at the deep end, where they have to start thinking of these sorts of situations. How would you handle a discipline issue? What would you do to build teamwork? So we've noticed a big change in how the job interview process is going in focusing on employability skills. Now, I want you to focus back to your lesson plans. So this is back now to topic-based, your cohort. What employability skills would be important to the lesson you're dealing with at the moment? And how can you start introducing the language of learning into your lessons, where you sit there and say, you bring employability skills to the fore. So today we're going to be looking at communication. Why? Because it's an essential skill for the workplace. And at the end of the lesson we sum up and perhaps talk about, you were communicating much more clearly by the end of it. They can see a change. But by using that language, we're bringing in the language of learning and passing on to students that it is important to learn to communicate. These are important skills.